Satanic ritual abuse, SRA, sometimes known as ritual abuse, ritualistic abuse, organized abuse, sadistic ritual abuse, and other variants, was the subject of a moral panic that originated in the United States in the 1980s, spreading throughout the country and eventually to many parts of the world by the late 1990s. Allegations of SRA involved reports of physical and sexual abuse of people in the context of occult or satanic rituals. In its most extreme form, SRA involves a worldwide organization including the wealthy and powerful of the world elite in which children are abducted or bred for sacrifices, pornography and prostitution. Nearly every aspect of SRA was controversial, including its definition, the source of the allegations and proof thereof, testimonials of alleged victims, and court cases involving the allegations and criminal investigations. The panic affected lawyers, therapists, and social workers' handling of allegations of child sexual abuse. Allegations initially brought together widely dissimilar groups, including religious fundamentalists, police investigators, child advocates, therapists, and clients in psychotherapy. The movement gradually secularized, dropping or deprecating the satanic aspects of the allegations in favor of names that were less overtly religious such as sadistic or simply ritual abuse and becoming more associated with dissociative identity disorder and anti-government conspiracy theories. Initial publicity came via the book Michelle Remembers, 1980, and was sustained and popularized throughout the decade by the McMartin preschool trial. Testimonials, symptom lists, rumors, and techniques to investigate or uncover memories of SRA were disseminated through professional, popular, and religious conferences, as well as through the attention of talk shows, sustaining and further spreading the moral panic throughout the United States and beyond. In some cases, allegations resulted in criminal trials with varying results. After 7 years in court, the McMartin trial resulted in no convictions for any of the accused, while other cases resulted in lengthy sentences, some of which were later reversed. Scholarly interest in the topic slowly built, eventually resulting in the conclusion that the phenomenon was a moral panic, which, as Sarah Hughes observed in 2017, involved hundreds of accusations that devil-worshipping pedophiles were operating America's white middle-class suburban daycare centers. Official investigations produced no evidence of widespread conspiracies or of the slaughter of thousands. Only a small number of verified crimes have even remote similarities to tales of SRA in the latter half of the 1990s. Interest in SRA declined and skepticism became the default position, with very few researchers giving any credence to the existence of SRA. History. Historical precedents. The SRA panic repeated many of the features of historical moral panics and conspiracy theories, such as the blood libel against Jews by Apion in the 30s CE, the wild rumors that led to the persecutions of early Christians in the Roman Empire, later allegations of Jewish rituals involving the killing of Christian babies and desecration of the Eucharist, and the witch hunts of the 16th and 17th centuries. Allegations of horrific acts by outsider groups including cannibalism, child murder, torture and incestuous orgies may have served as a form of othering for minority groups, as well as scapegoat explanations for complex problems in times of social disruption. Torture and imprisonment were used by authority figures to coerce confessions from alleged Satanists, confessions that were later used to justify their execution. Records of these older allegations were linked by contemporary proponents in an effort to demonstrate the contemporary satanic cults were part of an ancient conspiracy of evil, though ultimately there is no evidence for devil-worshipping cults in Europe at any time. A more immediate precedent to the context of the United States was McCarthyism in the 1950s. The underpinnings for the contemporary moral panic were found in a rise of 5 factors in the years leading up to the 1980s. The establishment of fundamentalist Christianity and political organization of the moral majority, the rise of the anti-cult movement which spread ideas of abusive cults kidnapping and brainwashing children and teens, the appearance of the Church of Satan and other explicitly Satanist groups that added a kernel of truth to the existence of satanic cults, the development of the social work or child protection field, and its struggle to have child sexual abuse recognized as a social problem and a serious crime, and the popularization of post-traumatic stress disorder, repressed memory, and corresponding survivor movement. Michelle Remembers and the McMartin Preschool Trial. Michelle Remembers, written by Michelle Smith and her husband, the psychiatrist Lawrence Pazder, was published in 1980. Now discredited, the book was written in the form of an autobiography, presenting the first modern claim that child abuse was linked to satanic rituals. Pazder was also responsible for coining the term ritual abuse. Michelle Remembers provided a model for numerous allegations of SRA that ensued later in the same decade. On the basis of the book's success, Pazder developed a high media profile, gave lectures and training on SRA to law enforcement, and by September 1990 had acted as a consultant on more than 1,000 SRA cases, including the McMartin Preschool Trial. Prosecutors used Michelle Remembers as a guide when preparing cases against alleged Satanists. Michelle Remembers, along with other accounts portrayed as survivor stories, are suspected to have influenced later allegations of SRA, and the book has been suggested as a causal factor in the later epidemic of SRA allegations. The early 1980s, during the implementation of mandatory reporting laws, saw a large increase in child protection investigations in America, Britain, and other developed countries, along with a heightened public awareness of child abuse. The investigation of incest allegations in California was also changed, with cases led by social workers who used leading and coercive interviewing techniques that had been avoided by police investigators. Such changes in the prosecution of cases of alleged incest resulted in an increase in confessions by fathers in exchange for plea bargains. Shortly thereafter, some children in child protection cases began making allegations of horrific physical and sexual abuse by caregivers within organized rituals, claiming sexual abuse in satanic rituals and the use of satanic symbols. These cases garnered the label satanic ritual abuse both in the media and among professionals. Childhood memories of similar abuse began to appear in the psychotherapy sessions of adults. In 1983, charges were laid in the McMartin Preschool Trial, a major case in California, which received attention throughout the United States and contained allegations of satanic ritual abuse. The case caused tremendous polarization in how to interpret the available evidence. Shortly afterward, more than 100 preschools across the country became the object of similar sensationalist allegations, which were eagerly and uncritically reported by the press. Throughout the McMartin trial, media coverage of the defendants, Peggy McMartin and Ray Buckey, was unrelentingly negative, focusing only on statements by the prosecution. Michelle Smith and other alleged survivors met with parents involved in the trial, and it is believed that they influenced testimony against the accused. Key McFarlane, a social worker employed by the Children's Institute International, developed a new way to interrogate children with anatomically correct dolls and used them in an effort to assist disclosures of abuse with the McMartin children. After asking the children to point to the places on the dolls where they had allegedly been touched and asking leading questions, McFarlane diagnosed sexual abuse in virtually all the McMartin children. She coerced disclosures by using lengthy interviews that rewarded discussions of abuse and punished denials. The trial testimony that resulted from such methods was often contradictory and vague on all details except for the assertion that the abuse had occurred. Although the initial charges in the McMartin case featured allegations of satanic abuse and a vast conspiracy, these features were dropped relatively early in the trial, and prosecution continued only for non-ritual allegations of child abuse against only 2 defendants. After 3 years of testimony, McMartin and Buckey were acquitted on 52 of 65 counts, and the jury was deadlocked on the remaining 13 charges against Buckey, with 11 of 13 jurors choosing not guilty. Bucky was recharged and 2 years later released without conviction. Conspiracy accusations. In 1984, McFarlane warned a congressional committee of scatological behavior and animals being slaughtered in bizarre rituals that children were forced to watch. Shortly after, the United States Congress doubled its budget for child protection programs. Psychiatrist Roland Summit delivered conferences in the wake of the McMartin trial and depicted the phenomenon as a conspiracy that involved anyone skeptical of the phenomenon. By 1986, social worker Carol Darling argued to a grand jury that the conspiracy reached the government. Her husband Brad Darling gave conference presentations about a satanic conspiracy of great antiquity which he believed now permeated American communities. By the late 1980s, therapists or patients who believed someone had suffered from SRA could suggest solutions that included Christian psychotherapy, exorcism, and support groups whose members self-identified as anti-satanic warriors. Federal funding was increased for research on child abuse, with large portions of the funding allocated for research on child sexual abuse. Funding was also provided for conferences supporting the idea of SRA, adding a veneer of respectability to the idea as well as offering an opportunity for prosecutors to exchange advice on how to best secure convictions with tactics including destruction of notes, refusing to tape interviews with children, and destroying or refusing to share evidence with the defense. Had proof been found, SRA would have represented the first occasion where an organized and secret criminal activity had been discovered by mental health professionals. In 1987, Geraldo Rivera produced a national television special on the alleged secret cults, claiming estimates are that there are over 1 million Satanists linked in a highly organized, secretive network. Tapings of this and similar talk show episodes were subsequently used by religious fundamentalists, psychotherapists, social workers, and police to promote the idea that a conspiracy of satanic cults existed and was committing serious crimes. In the 1990s, psychologist D. Corydon Hammond publicized a detailed theory of ritual abuse drawn from hypnotherapy sessions with his patients, alleging they were victims of a worldwide conspiracy of organized, secretive clandestine cells who used torture, mind control and ritual abuse to create alternate personalities that could be activated with code words. The victims were allegedly trained as assassins, prostitutes, drug traffickers, and child sex workers, to create child pornography. Hammond claimed his patients had revealed the conspiracy was masterminded by a Jewish doctor in Nazi Germany, but who now worked for the Central Intelligence Agency with a goal of worldwide domination by a satanic cult. The cult was allegedly composed of respectable, powerful members of society who used the funds generated to further their agenda. Missing memories among the victims and absence of evidence was cited as evidence of the power and effectiveness of this cult in furthering its agenda. Hammond's claims gained considerable attention, due in part to his prominence in the field of hypnosis and psychotherapy. Religious roots and secularization. Satanic ritual abuse brought together several groups normally unlikely to associate, including psychotherapists, self-help groups, religious fundamentalists and law enforcement. Initial accusations were made in the context of the rising political power of conservative Christianity within the United States, and religious fundamentalists enthusiastically promoted rumors of SRA psychotherapists who were actively Christian advocated for the diagnosis of dissociative identity disorder, DID. Soon after, accounts similar to Michelle Remembers began to appear, with some therapists believing the alter egos of some patients were the result of demonic possession. Protestantism was instrumental in starting, spreading, and maintaining rumors through sermons about the dangers of SRA, lectures by purported experts, and prayer sessions, including showings of the 1987 Geraldo Rivera television special. Secular proponents appeared, and child protection workers became significantly involved. Law enforcement trainers, many themselves strongly religious, became strong promoters of the claims and self-described experts on the topic. Their involvement in child sexual abuse cases produced more allegations of SRA, adding credibility to the phenomenon. As the explanations for SRA were distanced from evangelical Christianity and associated with survivor groups, the motivations ascribed to purported Satanists shifted from combating a religious nemesis, to mind control and abuse as an end to itself. Clinicians, psychotherapists, and social workers documented clients with alleged histories of SRA, though the claims of therapists were unsubstantiated beyond the testimonies of their clients. International spread. In 1987, a list of indicators was published by Catherine Gould, featuring a broad array of vague symptoms that were ultimately common, nonspecific, and subjective, capable of diagnosing SRA in most young children. By the late 1980s, allegations began to appear throughout the world, including Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, the Netherlands, and Scandinavia, in part enabled by English as a common international language, and in the United Kingdom, assisted by Gould's list of indicators. Belief in SRA spread rapidly through the ranks of mental health professionals, despite an absence of evidence, through a variety of continuing education seminars, during which attendees were urged to believe in the reality of satanic cults their victims, and not to question the extreme and bizarre memories uncovered. Proof was provided in the form of unconnected bits of information such as pictures drawn by patients, heavy metal album covers, historical folklore about devil worshippers, and pictures of mutilated animals. During the seminars, patients provided testimonials of their experiences, and presenters stressed that recovering memories was important for healing. In 1986, the largest symposium on child abuse in history was held in Australia, with addresses by vocal SRA advocates Key McFarlane, Roland Summit, Astrid Heppenstall-Heger, and David Finkel-Hoare. In 1987, writings on the phenomenon appeared in the United Kingdom along with incidents featuring broadly similar accusations such as the Cleveland child abuse scandal. Allegations of SRA in Nottingham resulted in the British Macmartin, advised in part by the British journalist Tim Tate's work on the subject. Along with the list of indicators, American conference speakers, pamphlets, source materials, consultants, vocabulary regarding SRA and allegedly funding were imported, which promoted the identification and counseling of British SRA allegations. The Nottingham investigation resulted in criminal charges of severe child abuse that ultimately had nothing to do with satanic rituals, and was criticized for focusing on the irrelevant and non-existent satanic aspects of the allegations at the expense of the severe conventional abuse endured by the children. In 1989, San Francisco police detective Sandy Gallant gave an interview with a newspaper in the United Kingdom. At the same time, several other therapists toured the country giving talks on SRA, and shortly thereafter SRA cases occurred in Orkney, Rochdale, London, and Nottingham. In 1992, charges were laid in the Martinsville satanic sex scandal. Charges were overturned in 1995 on the grounds of improper interviewing of the children. A wave of SRA accusations appeared in New Zealand in 1991, and in Norway in 1992. In 1998, Jean Lafontaine produced a book indicating allegations of SRA in the United Kingdom were sparked by investigations supervised by social workers who had taken SRA seminars in the United States. Skepticism, rejection, and contemporary existence. Media coverage of SRA began to turn negative by 1987, and the panic ended between 1992 and 1995. The release of the HBO made-for-TV movie Indictment, the Macmartin trial in 1995 recast Ray Buckey as a victim of overzealous prosecution rather than an abusive predator and marked a watershed change in public perceptions of satanic ritual abuse accusations. By 2003, allegations of ritual abuse were met with great skepticism, and belief in SRA was no longer considered mainstream in professional circles, although the sexual abuse of children is a real and serious problem, allegations of SRA were essentially false. Reasons for the collapse of the phenomenon include the collapse of criminal prosecution against alleged abusers, a growing number of scholars, officials, and reporters questioning the reality of the accusations, and a variety of successful lawsuits against mental health professionals. Astrophysicist and astrobiologist Carl Sagan devoted an entire chapter of his last book, The Demon-Haunted World, Science as a Candle in the Dark, 1996, to a critique of claims of recovered memories of UFO abductions and satanic ritual abuse, and cited material from the newsletter of the False Memory Syndrome Foundation with approval. Some feminist critics of the SRA diagnoses maintained that, in the course of attempting to purge society of evil, the panic of the 1980s and 1990s obscured real child abuse issues, a concern echoed by Gary Clapton. In England, the SRA panic diverted resources and attention from proven abuse cases. This resulted in a hierarchy of abuse in which SRA was the most serious form, physical and sexual abuse being minimized and/or marginalized, and mere physical abuse no longer worthy of intervention. In addition, as criticism of SRA investigation increased, the focus by social workers on SRA resulted in a large loss of credibility to the profession. SRA, with its sensational makeup of many victims abused by many victimizers, ended up robbing the far more common and proven issue of incest of much of its societal significance. The National Center for Abuse and Neglect devised the term religious abuse to describe exorcism, poisoning, and drowning of children in non-satanic religious settings in order to avoid confusion with SRA. A small number of people still believe there is credence to allegations of SRA and continue to discuss the topic. Publications by Kathy O'Brien claiming SRA were the result of government programs, specifically the Central Intelligence Agency's Project Mgultra, to produce Manchurian Candidate-style mind control in young children were picked up by conspiracy theorists, linking belief in SRA with claims of government conspiracies. In the book Mistakes Were Made, but Not by Me, authors Carol Tavris and Elliot Aronson cite ongoing belief in the SRA phenomenon despite a complete lack of evidence as demonstration of the confirmation bias in believers. It further points out that a lack of evidence is actually considered by believers in SRA as more evidence, demonstrating how clever and evil the cult leaders were. They were eating those babies, bones and all. Definitions. The term satanic ritual abuse is used to describe different behaviors, actions, and allegations that lie between extremes of definitions. In 1988, a nationwide study of sexual abuse in U.S. daycare agencies, led by David Finkelhor, divided ritual abuse allegations into three categories: cult-based ritualism, in which the abuse had a spiritual or social goal for the perpetrators; pseudo-ritualism, in which the goal was sexual gratification and the rituals were used to frighten or intimidate victims; and psychopathological ritualism, in which the rituals were due to mental disorders. Subsequent investigators have expanded on these definitions and also pointed to a fourth alleged type of satanic ritual abuse, in which petty crimes with ambiguous meaning, such as graffiti or vandalism, generally committed by teenagers, were attributed to the actions of satanic cults. By the early 1990s, the phrase satanic ritual abuse was featured in media coverage of ritualistic abuse, but its use decreased among professionals in favor of more nuanced terms such as multidimensional child sex rings, ritual/ritualistic abuse, organized abuse, or sadistic abuse, some of which acknowledged the complexity of abuse cases with multiple perpetrators and victims without projecting a religious framework onto perpetrators. The latter in particular failed to substantively improve on or replace satanic abuse, as it was never used to describe any rituals except the satanic ones that were the core of SRA allegations. Abuse within the context of Christianity, Islam, or any other religions failed to enter the SRA discourse. Cult-based abuse. Allegation of cult-based abuse is the most extreme scenario of SRA during the initial period of interest. Starting in the early 1980s, the term was used to describe a network of Satan-worshipping, secretive intergenerational cults that were supposedly part of a highly organized conspiracy engaged in criminal behaviors such as forced prostitution, drug distribution, and pornography. These cults were also thought to sexually abuse and torture children in order to coerce them into a lifetime of devil worship. Other allegations included bizarre sexual acts such as necrophilia, forced ingestion of semen, blood, and feces, cannibalism, orgies, liturgical parody such as pseudo-sacramental use of feces and urine, infanticide, sacrificial abortions to eat fetuses, and human sacrifice. Satanic police officers who covered up evidence of SRA crimes and desecration of Christian graves. No evidence of any of these claims has ever been found. The proof presented by those who alleged the reality of cult-based abuse primarily consisted of the memories of adults recalling childhood abuse, the testimony of young children, and extremely controversial confessions. The idea of a murderous satanic conspiracy created a controversy dividing the professional child abuse community at the time, though no evidence has been found to support allegations of a large number of children being killed or abused in satanic rituals. From a law enforcement perspective, an intergenerational conspiracy dedicated to ritual sacrifice whose members remain completely silent, make no mistakes, and leave no physical evidence is unlikely. Cases of what the media incorrectly perceived as actual cult sacrifices, such as the 1989 case of Adolfo Constanzo, have supported this idea. Pseudo-Satanism. Satanic ritual abuse is also used to describe the actions of pseudo-Satanists who sexually abuse children and use the trappings of satanic rituals and claims of magical powers to coerce and terrify victims, but do not actually believe in the rituals. A survey of more than 12,000 SRA allegations, which found no substantiating evidence for an intergenerational conspiracy, did document several examples of abuse by pseudo-Satanists. Criminal and delusional Satanism. A third variation of ritual abuse involves non-religious ritual abuse in which the rituals were delusional or obsessive. There are incidents of extreme sadistic crimes that are committed by individuals, loosely organized families, and possibly in some organized cults, some of which may be connected to Satanism, though this is more likely to be related to sex trafficking. Though SRA may happen in families, extended families, and localized groups, it is not believed to occur in large, organized groups. Acting out. Investigators considered graffiti such as the pentagram to be evidence of a satanic cult. Ambiguous crimes in which actual or erroneously believed symbols of Satanism appear have also been claimed as part of the SRA phenomenon, though in most cases the crimes cannot be linked to a specific belief system. Minor crimes such as vandalism, trespassing, and graffiti were often found to be the actions of teenagers who were acting out. Polarization. There was never any consensus on what actually constituted satanic ritual abuse. This lack of a single definition, as well as confusion between the meanings of the term ritual, religious versus psychological, allowed a wide range of allegations and evidence to be claimed as a demonstration of the reality of SRA claims, irrespective of which definition the evidence supported. Acrimonious disagreements between groups who supported SRA allegations as authentic and those criticizing them as unsubstantiated resulted in an extremely polarized discussion with little middle ground. The lack of credible evidence for the more extreme interpretations often being seen as evidence of an effective conspiracy rather than an indication that the allegations are unfounded. The atheistic or religious beliefs of the disputants have also resulted in different interpretations of evidence, and as well as accusations of those who reject the claims being anti-child. Both believers and skeptics have developed networks to disseminate information on their respective positions. One of the central themes of the discussion among English child abuse professionals was the assertion that people should simply believe the children, and that the testimony of children was sufficient proof, which ignored the fact that in many cases the testimony of children was interpreted by professionals rather than the children explicitly disclosing allegations of abuse. In some cases this was simultaneously presented with the idea that it did not matter if SRA actually existed, that the empirical truth of SRA was irrelevant, that the testimony of children was more important than that of doctors, social workers, and the criminal justice system. Evidence. The evidence for SRA was primarily in the form of testimonies from children who made allegations of SRA, and adults who claimed to remember abuse during childhood, that may have been forgotten and recovered during therapy. With both children and adults, no corroborating evidence has been found for anything except pseudo-Satanism, in which the satanic and ritual aspects were secondary to and used as a cover for sexual abuse. Despite this lack of objective evidence, and aided by the competing definitions of what SRA actually was, proponents claimed SRA was a real phenomenon throughout the peak and during the decline of the moral panic. Despite allegations appearing in the United States, Netherlands, Sweden, New Zealand, and Australia, no material evidence has been found to corroborate allegations of organized cult-based abuse that practices human sacrifice and cannibalism. Though trauma specialists frequently claimed the allegations made by children and adults were the same, in reality the statements made by adults were more elaborate, severe, and featured more bizarre abuse. In 95% of the adults' cases, the memories of the abuse were recovered during psychotherapy. For several years, a conviction list assembled by the Believe the Children advocacy group was circulated as proof of the truth of satanic ritual abuse allegations, though the organization itself no longer exists and the list itself is egregiously out of date. Investigations. 2 investigations were carried out to assess the evidence for SRA in the United States. Evidence was reported but was based on a flawed methodology with an overly liberal definition of a substantiated case. In the United Kingdom, a government report produced no evidence of SRA, but several examples of false Satanists faking rituals to frighten their victims. United States. David Finkelhor completed an investigation of child sexual abuse in daycares in the United States, and published a report in 1988. The report found 270 cases of sexual abuse, of which 36 were classified as substantiated cases of ritual abuse. Mary DeYoung has pointed out that the report's definition of substantiated was overly liberal, as it required only that one agency had decided that abuse had occurred, even if no action was taken, no arrests made, no operating licenses suspended. In addition, multiple agencies may have been involved in each case, including the FBI, local police, social services agencies and childhood protective services in many cases, with wide differences in suspicion and confirmation, often in disagreement with each other. Finkelhor, upon receiving a confirmation, would collect information from whoever was willing or interested to provide it and did not independently investigate the cases, resulting in frequent errors in their conclusions. No data is provided beyond case studies and brief summaries. 3 other cases considered corroborating by the public: the McMartin preschool trial, the Country Walk case, and the murders in Matamoros, by Adolfo Constanzo, ultimately failed to support the existence of SRA. The primary witness in the Country Walk case repeatedly made, then withdrew accusations against her husband amid unusual and coercive inquiries by her lawyer. Please subscribe and thanks for watching.